Hi, I'm Lisa Hayden with Channel 6 Central Kentucky TV, community focus on Washington County. And we are delighted to have with us today our new Washington County Judge Executive, Tim Graves. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you, Lisa. Glad to be here.
And congratulations.
Yes. Thank you for that. I'm happy about this.
Yeah, close race.
It was, but that's okay.
Yeah,
That's okay.
You won.
Yes.
It doesn't make any difference if you win by one vote or if you win by 1,000. The winner is the winner.
Hard work paid off.
That's right.
And I worked hard.
Yeah, I know you did. Yeah. So now, Tim, this is your first time running, I believe, for political office. Is that correct?
No. I ran for magistrate a couple times.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. This is my first time running for county judge.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Mm-hmm. So you did run for magistrate,
Yes.
and but those were unsuccessful attempts.
Yes, that's correct.
Two unsuccessful.
Two unsuccessful.
See, it just goes to show you that third time's a charm.
I closed the margin every time, but this time I got it done.
I always tell people that don't give up when, we've had lots of wonderful politicians in our lives, and before us, Abraham Lincoln, that didn't win their first race.
That's correct.
So, or even their second necessarily.
And if you look at most politicians, the majority of them lose their first race.
Yeah.
It's kind of a learning curve, if you will.
Yeah.
That was told to me after I lost my first one, kind of as in condolences, I guess. Try again.
Well, it's really hard, and I admire anyone who runs for office to be a public servant, and that's what you are, a public servant.
Yes, indeed.
And I admire anyone who runs regardless win or lose, because it takes a lot of gumption and a lot of hard work. So I know you've got a lot of gumption and you put in a lot of hard work.
I certainly did, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now that you're in office, first of all, why did you want to be the county judge executive?
Well, it's kind of a long story, if you will, but you alluded to my earlier campaigns, and in a perfect world, you kind of make a plan. But all too often, those plans change. We've all heard the story that if you want to you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plan. And my plan didn't work out, but realistically, I was thinking about becoming a magistrate for a couple terms and then running for judge. And I knew that one day Judge Settles would retire. Now, I didn't have any intentions of ever running against him, but I was just kind of sitting on the sidelines, hoping that when he did retire, I could get his spot. Now, to answer your question, that's kind of my thinking behind doing that. But I've always been a person that loved Washington County. And I've always been a person that's worked hard my whole life. And I feel like I've got good public relationship skills and good work ethic to move the county forward. And I just wanted to try to do that. And it's a stage of my life where, I'm in my early 50s now. I've worked really hard physically most of my life, and it's time to kind of make a change. So the judge just really fit for me at my stage of life. My children are grown and gone. We've got kind of the empty nest, if you will, and it's time for me to phase into something different. So this came down, and I was successful. God smiled on me.
Well, now tell me your background in your career and different things that have prepared you for this.
Sure. Well, early on in life was a lot of hard work, but I'm not complaining in any way, shape, or form. But we were raised on a farm, and we raised cattle and we raised tobacco. And you came home from school, you got off the bus, and you walked quite a ways to get home. And then, depending on what was going on, that's what we did. We split wood, we fed the hogs, we cut the tobacco, stripped it, whatever the case may be. So I learned a work ethic early on in life, and I knew early on if you wanted something, you had to work to get it. There was no silver spoons for me. It just didn't happen. But I'm okay with that. I'm not complaining, because hard work builds good character, and I tried to instill that in my children and anyone else I was around. So with the work ethic I had, finally I started my own business. I took enough gumption, if you will, because it takes a lot of courage to go out on your own and start a business, and especially when you have small children to think about and to raise. Go from a regular paycheck every week, if you will, to are you going to get paid this month or not? So after working in a job in Louisville that I didn't really care about for a lot of different reasons, and I won't allude to that, in those times there weren't any jobs around in this area that paid very good, but I could drive to Louisville and make a good wage. So that's what I did for 10 years. And at the end of that 10 years, it was
Now,
97.
was that in a, what kind of capacity?
It was in
that?
as warehouse worker, Winn-Dixie Warehouse. Yes.
Okay.
I spent 10 years there, from 87 to 97. And
Driving back and forth.
yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Oh, I know
a
how
lot,
that
A lot of
is.
long hours. You know, we
Yeah.
would work 12-hour shifts, and I was on the road a lot of times 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
So, and then I farmed during that as well.
Oh, you farmed during that time as
Yes,
well?
sure did, and plus raising a family.
Yeah.
But in '97, kind of back up on what they started at. I think it was '95, I believe, or maybe off '94. A little bit. We had a real bad storm come through. I'm sure you remember it. Lebanon Hill every tree on Lebanon Hill just about got tore down. Do you recall that?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Well, I had a lot of tobacco that year, and a lot of the barns that I was using to house the tobacco in received damage. Well, there was so much damage widespread in the county, we couldn't find anybody to fix them. And we had insurance to pay to pay to fix them back. And I remember talking to Bud Harden about who could I get. He said, "There is nobody. Why don't you just fix them yourself, and we'll pay you." So I volunteered for night shift in Louisville, and I fixed those barns myself during the day, and that's what started me into the construction business. And I talk about Bud all the time, kind of giving me my first start, because after I got my own barns fixed, Bud was referring me out to people. So I was still working in Louisville at night, working on barns during the day. So then it evolved. In '97, I left the warehouse and started my own business, and it was a big step. It really was, but it worked out. We worked hard. I had a lot of good employees over the years, just good, honest people. And when I ran my business, I ran fully legal. Paid all the insurances, paid my guys' health insurance, federal, state, and local withholdings. I tried to be legit all the way through.
Paid their health insurance too?
I did, yes. It got very difficult at times.
Man, you don't get many
No.
people that did.
Well, you back up at least to the early 2000s, it wasn't that bad. But as we got on into the middle 2000s, it got really rough.
Yeah.
And we had to change kind of the way we did things. But it was quite a learning experience for me. But when I started, there was not a job that if I felt comfortable and confident I could do the job and somebody would pay me to do it, I went and did it. And I try to be honest and ethical, and there were times that I made mistakes, but we all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. And if I made a mistake, I was just honest and upfront, and I said, "Look, this is what's happened. This is what we're going to do to fix it." And the business grew. At one time, I think I had 9 guys working for me. That would have been the peak when the 2002 hailstorm hit. As you recall, all of Washington County pretty much, and mainly Springfield, all got new roofs, new windows, new vinyl siding. And those were really busy years, but they were pretty good years financially as well.
Yeah.
So that's when I was able to build my shop on the old car wash building. I bought that and
Yeah.
remodeled that and built my shop there and run my business out of that. And it grew to where never advertised. It was just word of mouth. Customer base was repeat customers, and never built a spec house. Every house I built was a custom build. I got to working with, if I'd work with this one family, well, my sister, she needs a house, and then we'd build it. Then my nephew or my aunt or my uncle. So it was a really tight-knit group that I worked with, and just most of those people were Washington County residents who I became very fond of, had great working relationships with them, and it was a good deal. The biggest reason that I chose to get away from the construction was lack of help. I could not find the workforce, When I first started, there was people begging for work. I'd put an ad in the paper and I'd get 20 resumes.
Mm-hmm.
Towards the end, I put an ad in the paper, I wouldn't get any resumes.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's due to the environment that we live in and the way the economy in our area changed. We have some really good industry here now that pays good. And
Yeah.
from a construction point of view, in a population of 12,000 county, you can I couldn't pay the wages that the factories were. So
Right.
they were stealing all my help. And another thing that kind of was a downside was the help situation. I would always go to the farming kids that weren't what you call college material, but they would work a couple of years to figure out what they wanted to do after they graduated high school. Mm-hmm. And they were really good help for me because we related, because we all had agriculture backgrounds. And then I guess probably in 9 and 10, the grain got really popular. So these farming kids that I alluded to could go drive a combine or a semi and make the same as I was paying. And that's a lot more attractive if you're
Yeah.
a 18-year-old kid.
Yeah.
So that was part of it. So in 14, as my last full year of construction, I shut it down. Part of the reason I lost my main guy that had been with me forever, never could replace him. He took on a better job. But I started working for the post office, here in Springfield. Mm-hmm. And I think I started in August of 14 at the post office. I really enjoyed the job. but it was just a part-time
You had
job.
a rural route.
I had a lot of rural routes. As a sub, you run them all. So if
Okay.
this person's off, you run their route. If they're on vacation or their vehicle's broke down or they have a medical emergency, they call me in to run the routes.
Okay.
And when I first started, I was really aggressive and eager, like I still am. And I worked some in Bardstown as well. Just they needed help too. So I got to kind of feel the surrounding counties and the conditions of the road. And during my campaign for judge, I would tell everybody, well, I know what your road's like because I've been down it. Because if you run those routes, I went down every road in the county.
Yeah.
The only area of the county that I didn't know very well was North End that has Harrisburg addresses. And I knew it somewhat, but not from working, in the county.
Yeah.
But I think it gives me a really good feel of the conditions of the road and how they're maintained. Because I would tell everybody during the campaign that I saw these roads when they're at their best, and I saw them when they're at their worst. Because the mail runs 6 days a week, well 7 now. We deliver Amazon packages at 7 days on Sundays. So I did that, and then I also took a job with the Kentucky Beef Network as a field rep, and that was more of a PR job, much like what we're doing at the campaign, if you will. That's kind of a PR job, public relations. But I was a field rep and I had 13 counties in Kentucky. And so I was working 2 part-time jobs plus farming. So that's what I've been doing for the last 4 years. And with the Kentucky Beef Network, I would go and help mentor young farmers starting out to teach them how to better genetics for their cattle, better facilities, herd health, whatever it may be. The job description that they gave me was, if it has to do with cattle and you can help them, do it. So then they got to using my background in construction to design buildings. So I was traveling the state designing buildings to hold cattle for people. That was really good and interesting. Got to meet a lot more people on the construction side. Mm-hmm. So I really enjoyed that part. I got to meet a lot of people that I wouldn't normally have met if I hadn't left the county. That in other ideas, and that's something I talked about a lot. The more people you have, the more ideas you have.
That's right.
And I got to go on a lot of trips with the Cattlemen's Association to Colorado and St. Paul, Minnesota, and toured some farms up there. And a lot of that I would learn as much from the guys sitting beside me on the bus as I did the guy's farm I visited.
Yeah.
Because it was people from all walks of life and all parts of this state that were farming differently. So that was really good, and that really helped me for as I hadn't really done a lot of public speaking until I got that job, but then I would go to cattlemen's meetings and I would be the guest speaker. So I thought, well, you get the jitters out because you're getting ready to do public speaking. So that helped out a lot because I've already been put on the spot 2 or 3 times. I'd be invited to somewhere and I'm like, well, you're our guest speaker. I said, oh, I am. So we did that, but then
well, that helped build your self-confidence and
most definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And of course, you've learned a lot through your travels. Then it sounds like, and so I'm sure you were able to speak to a lot of things regarding
and
a lot of different things.
One of the things that was most challenging, but most educational, if you will, I had to mentor a lot of young farmers, and for the mentorships that they were under, we had to submit a budget, and it's really tough for a young guy starting out with the price of land as high as it is and as cheap as cattle are, to submit a budget that's going to work. And I mean, they had to approve this budget, so we had to finagle some things, and we had to talk to the young farmers about, renting and leasing equipment as opposed to purchasing it, because it wasn't feasible.
Right.
The money's not there. And, the old joke was, there's only one good way to be a successful farmer: have your wife have a good job in town. Because it's kind of that way.
I know it.
It really is. You can't really farm
because they would provide the insurance.
Insurance and groceries.
Yeah, and the groceries, right.
But farming's a great way of life, and I really love it. It's just not. I tell everybody it's almost like a nonprofit organization.
Well, in a way, farming is a good way to learn how to prepare a budget.
Yes, indeed.
Because first of all, you're never sure exactly what's coming in, and and then there's always unforeseen expenses, just like a city or a county.
Just like the county, I'm already finding that out.
And so and so then you have to save for a rainy day for those things that might occur, and oftentimes, I mean, you've got to get that budget down pat.
Yes.
So. It's pretty complicated stuff.
It is.
So,
and that helped me a lot learning that. And sometimes they would kick it back and say, gentlemen, this is not going to work. This sharpen your pencil. So that's what we would do. So that was really one of the better parts about it. And these young farmers I worked with, they were just so eager and ready to go, and their heart was just in that, and that's what they want, how they want to spend their life. So we worked with them to try to help them do that. So it was a really good job.
Well, and you certainly, in your position now, will be able to, you can relate because we are basically a rural farming county,
Yes.
80%, I think, or
Oh,
something like that.
Yes. I don't know the exact
So-
number, but I would speculate higher.
Okay,
Yes,
well,
yes.
I'm thinking about 80, but
Yeah.
at any rate, so, you know, you're certainly going to be able to relate to that. Sounds like you'll be able to relate in a lot of different ways,
I
because
hope
you've
so.
had kind of factory work in addition, and
Self-employment, employees,
Yeah.
and tight budgets.
and you know the roads, you know the people, because you've been all over the county. Those are all great
Yeah.
assets to have. So now, what are
and-
you plan to do as in this position now? Some of your goals and
Sure,
aspirations.
sure. When I was campaigning, I'm sure I probably told you the same thing when I stopped by your house, because I tried to stop by everybody's house. Obviously, I couldn't catch everyone, but I want to leave this county better than the way I found it, and I mean that wholeheartedly. You know, my heart's in this county, and every decision that I and the fiscal court make are going to be for what's best for this county, and that's how we're going to approach things. And I've only been in office 20-some days now, and we're not rushing into anything. We are blessed in Washington County here, and I say this wholeheartedly, we are blessed to have the judge that we had and the court that we had prior to me coming into office, because they left us in very good shape. Granted, money's tight, but they left us in very good shape. And I chose not to replace any of the department heads, and it was the best decision I ever made. I heard years ago in a leadership class that every good leader surrounds themselves with intelligent people. And that's what I feel like I've done by leaving all my department heads in place. So John and the magistrates had a well-oiled machine running, and it's still running. I'm just running at the helm, me and my new magistrates, and one incumbent. So to get into the point of what we want to get done, we're going to move slow, think things through, talk it over, and make sure at the end of the day the changes that we make are what's best for the county and what needs to be done for the county. Now, some things that we're going to look at down the road, granted I've only been in office 20 days now, we want to look at our address system as far as getting your numbers posted. It's a real problem in the county with our emergency services. When someone calls 911 and they go out, it's hard to find the houses because the numbers are not marked on the mailbox or in front of the house. And I saw this firsthand working at the post office, and I knew it was a problem, and I talked about it some while I was campaigning, but I was in a PSAP meeting recently, and that's a point of public answer service. That's our 911, if you will. And that was some of the complaints the board brought to me about the county. So the board is worried. The EMS workers are worried. You know, if your loved one calls 911, you want that ambulance to get there as quick as possible. That's when minutes matter. And if they're lost and can't find your address, that's a problem. So these decisions, referring back to what I just said, is what's best for the county. So I looked at the ordinances that are in place for that, and there is a public ordinance in place for the county as well as the city to have your numbers posted. So those are some of the things we're looking at right now and how to best implement that. You know, maybe look around and try to find some grant money to help offset the cost of it. But, you know, it's just a public safety thing. You know, that's just one of the things we want to look at. Obviously, revenue is an issue. We're not in bad shape, but we have to look down the road. And we can see trends, and you know our ambulance service is costing us more and making us less, so we're going to try to head those problems off. And our jail budget, you know, it's out of hand, if you will. But the more residents that we have in jail, the more money it costs the county.
Right.
So those are fixed costs that we have to address. So we've got to sharpen our pencil, as I referred to earlier, to address some of those things.
Of course, any ordinance for the county is also a part of the cities, because we in the city are a part of the county.
You, Lisa,
A lot of people forget that, Tim.
You mimicked
We
me because
Springfield people pay county taxes
you
too.
do. You mimicked me because when the PSAP board talked about that, I said, well, if there's a county ordinance, that covers the city.
That's right.
So I pulled up the county ordinance and read it, and it said the city limits was not included.
So they excluded it.
But then I went to City Hall and got the city ordinance, and it says all persons. So, and the two mirror each other.
Yeah.
The verbiage is exactly the same. So the city has an ordinance and the county have an ordinance that say the same thing. So it covers the county.
But you know, now that I think about it, Tim, actually, I mean, of course, we do pay our county taxes, but we are separate entities. So that
That's why there's two ordinances.
government entities.
Yes.
Now, if it's a state law, it covers us both.
Yes.
But we can implement, of course, we implement things just for the city ordinances. But when the county, You know, I think we are a separate government, so we're not included.
Yeah,
in
that's why there's two ordinances.
Yeah.
But yeah, for that one
Right,
issue. For
that-
for one,
yeah.
You know, that's just one of the few things we want to look at too. And during the campaign, a lot of people talk to me about the youth not having anything to do. I don't know if you heard my spot on the radio lately. I was
No.
interviewed after our last court meeting. But anyway, we're talking about doing something at the Old Armory for the youth. And we have a gentleman wanting to open that up to have a structured ball camp, one-on-one, that type stuff. And he's doing some after-school stuff right now, very interested in it. So I've been investigating on that. This gentleman reached out to me prior to me taking office, and we have to do things that's best interest of everybody in the county. I've already talked about that. So if we're going to talk about renting the gym or leasing the gym to an individual that lives in this county, we have to offer to everybody in the county. So the court voted Friday to proposal for services of that building, and it's going to be in the paper. We're going to advertise for it and see what kind of proposals come back. But this one gentleman's interested in writing a proposal back to the county. So we're working through the legalities of the insurance and what have you, but I can just, in my mind, see youth up there in a structured setting, you know, running laps, playing basketball, doing push-ups, playing volleyball under a supervised structure setting.
I think they still rent that out up there.
They
don't
do,
But
they
they
do.
charge like $50.
No, it's $20 an hour.
$20 an hour.
The problem we have, Lisa, and right now the way our previous administration had it set up, our EMS director is in charge of renting the gym out. Well, I take the position our EMS director needs to be running the EMS, not renting the gym out. Just because he works out of that building, he shouldn't be responsible for that gym. And he's kind of aggravated with it. It's I don't want to say anything bad about anybody, but he has had some trouble with some people renting it, not paying. There's been some damage done, toilets overflowed on purpose, that kind of stuff.
Oh, my.
So we're looking at some riffraff, just if you will. And if we had a structured setting of one person in control, things are going to be managed and maintained. But I addressed the court with it and addressed our county attorney, so we're looking at the legalities of it and putting a proposal out for bid, and hopefully it'll come back and we can get some youth going up there. You know, when I was a kid, I played basketball up there.
Oh, I know.
Then when I was a
Everybody,
teenager, we'd
yeah.
like on Wednesday nights, we'd meet a bunch of us guys and we'd play for a couple hours. I
You used to have roller skating up there.
I do. My wife said
kids,
she
I
roller
used to-
skated there.
Yeah,
Yes,
I used
yes.
to take my kids up there, yeah.
But we need to find something for the youth, and I know we hear it everywhere you go, but if you had a structured after-school setting, I think it's going to benefit. And then the summer, a structured activities. And this gentleman reached out to me. Seems really heart in the right place wanting to do this. So we'd like to make it
great.
work, but we've got to do it the legal. Got to go down the legal road, if you will.
Right.
Sure.
Because liability and things are such an issue these days, too.
Of course.
You just can't,
And with our EMS being in that building, we're limited on what we can do with that gym. We couldn't put anything up there that would be a distraction or a hindrance to what the functions that go on day to day there.
Right.
And also, too, just so everyone's aware, if we do make an agreement with someone to lease it out, there'll be a clause in there that if we have an emergency that we can take that gym back to have a stage for emergency management or housing if have a ice storm come through or whatever, tornado, whatever the case may be. So we would be able to jerk that back away from the activities director that's there and have our people back there for safe reasons.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
one of the safest buildings in the county
Yeah.
with those poured concrete walls. But yeah.
It used to be a bomb shelter or a shelter,
Yes.
tornado shelter or something at one time, yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, I know that I'm sure that you have a lot of other things that you are interested in as well. And so, but for time's sake, we're going to have to wait on that, I think.
Okay.
But I do think it's important that we mention your good wife and children,
Yes.
who of course supported you very hard during this campaign, and your parents who went to all your functions.
That's true enough.
So if you would just please identify them, and you can just thank them right here publicly.
I will. I heard several people say that when you put your name on the ballot, not only you're on the ballot, all your family is on the ballot. And that's kind of how it goes, And my wife, Lori Blanford Graves, we've been married 27 years. We have 3 children. Oldest Elizabeth Coulter, she's married to Tyler Coulter. Then Emily is my second child, and she received an agriculture education degree from Western, and she's teaching Ag Ed in Union County. And my son Jacob will turn 21 on Thursday, and he's working at Tire Automotive in Bardstown all the time. But they supported me wholeheartedly. And then, of course, my mother, Carolyn Graves, and my sister have ran the daycare here in town since 1982 or 1. I may be off a year on that, too.
Cindy. And
Yeah, and they've touched a lot of lives. And I don't know how many houses I didn't go to and knock on the door. Oh, you're Miss Cindy's brother, because so many kids go through there. So I put a plug
Right.
out to Small World Daycare. They do a great job.
That's exactly
My
right.
kids went there, so they all supported me wholeheartedly. Of course, my mother, who's retired now, and she's quite the talker. I may have a little bit of that, I don't know, but she would campaign hard for me. And I told everyone that she was my self-appointed unofficial campaign manager. But she worked hard for me. She wanted what's best for me, and she really supported me. And I have to say this on a sad note: my wife's father, Oscar, who a lot of people know, just recently passed
yes,
away.
I was going to say.
He was one of my stoutest supporters. He was behind me so much and so wanted to see me in office. And we lost him there the 5th, I believe it was, 4th day of January. Yeah. So the day before I was sworn in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a tough swearing in, but
Yeah.
man, just go
Yeah,
on.
good fella.
Yeah.
Awful good fella.
Just kind of
yeah.
hard as you can be. Did touched a lot of lives in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure did.
And I know I got to see Betty at the funeral home, and you all, and of course, and you all have such a big family too.
Yes.
On Betty's side,
Exactly.
all the Smiths, and I'm sure they all supported you during this campaign.
Yes.
And but you all are lucky to have such a good family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just good, honest, hardworking people
Yeah.
that take care of each and their own. If you
Yeah.
will. It was really good, and that's something that John talked to me about when I shared my ideas about running for office. He was like, "Well, what's your voter base?" I had no idea what a voter base was. Never thought about it. And he said, "How big's your family?" And then we got to talking, about the daycare and me working all over the county and working with the Beef Network and the big families we had. I said, well, he said, you got a good voter base. You got a good shot at this. So,
Yeah.
so I went out and worked hard, and here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say congratulations to you,
Thank you.
and I look forward to working with you as a city council
That's correct.
woman. And
That's correct.
we, I'm sure, will be I know that is something that the city and the county both are interested in, is being able to work together more.
By all means.
And that certainly makes our city and county both more efficiently run when you can work together. And so, not that we didn't before, but there's always room
That's
for
right.
more.
Always room for improvement.
Yeah.
And I would tell everybody, we have one thing in common. We live in Washington County. If you live in Pottsville or Fredericksburg or downtown Springfield or downtown Willisburg, we all live in Washington County.
That's right.
We're all in this together, and we're going to work together to do what's best for everybody.
That's right.
And it's the common sense approach.
Yeah.
And that's the road I'm going down.
Yeah. I like that.
All right.
Thanks again, Tim, for being here.
Thanks for inviting me. I've
You'll have
enjoyed
to
it.
Come back on again.
Oh, anytime.
And
Anytime.
keep us
schedule's kinda
updated.
busy. We're working hard
I
over there
know.
across the street, but anytime I can, I'll be glad to.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.